It was a dark and stormy night, and Jamie was driving home from a late shift at work. She had taken her usual route home, but as she turned onto a deserted back road, her car suddenly stalled. She tried to start it again, but the engine wouldn't turn over. Jamie felt a chill run down her spine as she realized how isolated and vulnerable she was. Just then, a figure appeared at her window. It was a woman, dressed in an old-fashioned white dress and with long, flowing hair. The woman beckoned for Jamie to roll down her window, but she was too terrified to move. The woman spoke to her, but Jamie couldn't hear what she was saying over the sound of the rain pounding on the car roof. Suddenly, the woman disappeared, and Jamie's car started up again. She wasted no time in getting out of there and driving home as fast as she could. When she arrived, she told her husband about the strange encounter she had just had. The next day, Jamie and her husband went to the local historical society to research the area where she had broken down. They discovered that the woman who had appeared to Jamie was a young bride who had died in a car accident on that very same road many years ago. Her ghost was said to haunt the road, trying to warn drivers of its dangerous curves. Jamie never forgot her encounter with the ghostly bride, and she always made sure to take a different route home from work after that night. Group of friends decided to spend the night camping on the beach. They set up their tents and gathered around a bonfire, telling ghost stories and enjoying each other's company. As the night wore on, the wind began to pick up, and the waves crashed against the shore. The group huddled closer together, feeling a sense of unease in the eerie atmosphere. Suddenly, one of the friends noticed a figure walking towards them from the direction of the ocean. It was a young woman, with long black hair and a white flowing dress. She seemed to be walking straight towards them, but as she got closer, she disappeared into thin air. The group of friends were frightened but also intrigued. They wondered if they had seen a ghostly apparition, and if so, who was the woman and what was her story? As they sat around the bonfire, they heard a faint singing coming from the direction of the ocean. The singing was mournful and haunting, and it sent chills down their spines. The group of friends decided to investigate, and they followed the sound of the singing to a secluded cove on the beach. As they approached the cove, they saw the ghostly figure of the young woman again. She was standing on a rock, singing her mournful song, and seemed to be in a trance. The group watched in awe as the young woman disappeared into thin air once again. The next day, the group of friends spoke to a local fisherman who told them the story of a young woman who had drowned in the ocean many years ago. Her body was never found, and some believe that her ghost still haunts the beach to this day. The group of friends never forgot their encounter with the ghostly figure on the beach. They wondered if the young woman's spirit was still searching for something or someone, or if she was simply reliving her final moments over and over again. They made a promise to never forget the haunting experience they had on the beach that stormy night. The moon was hidden behind thick clouds, casting an eerie shadow over the graveyard. The villagers knew that they should never venture near the cemetery after sunset, for fear of encountering the ghost that dwelled there. But a group of young friends decided to challenge the legend and set out to explore the graveyard. They laughed and joked as they made their way through the misty and overgrown paths, feeling invincible in their youth. Suddenly, a deafening clap of thunder boomed through the sky, and the friends heard a strange, eerie moan. The sound seemed to come from the direction of the graveyard, and the friends' laughter turned to fearful silence. As they looked around, they saw a figure in the shadows, a ghostly presence that seemed to be floating towards them. The friends froze in terror, unable to move or even scream. The ghostly figure grew closer and closer until it was upon them, and they could see its hollow eyes and pale face. The ghostly woman spoke to them in a haunting voice, her words filled with pain and suffering. She told them of her tragic death years ago and how her restless spirit had been haunting the graveyard ever since. The friends listened in horror, feeling the chill of death run down their spines. Suddenly, the ghostly woman let out a blood-curdling scream, and the friends felt their hearts skip a beat. They knew they had to do something to help her, but they were too afraid to stay there any longer. So they fled from the graveyard as fast as they could, their hearts pounding with fear. As they ran, the wind howled around them, and the rain lashed at their faces. They could hear the ghostly woman's moans and screams echoing through the village, sending shivers down their spines. They finally made it back to their homes, trembling with fear and unable to sleep for the rest of the night. The next day, the friends returned to the graveyard with the village priest, who performed a ritual to lay the woman's spirit to rest. But some say that on certain dark and stormy nights, the ghostly presence can still be felt, and the eerie moans can still be heard echoing through the village. And the villagers continue to fear the graveyard after sunset, for they know that the ghostly woman may still be there, waiting to haunt them once again.